Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala, thumma amma ba'd. To proceed. So in the second session, we will go over Salatul Eid, the Eid prayer. And this, inshallah, will be the end of Kitab al-Salah. So you should really celebrate it. We ended Kitab al-Salah, the book on Salah. We'd ended before the book on Tahara. And next will be the book on funerals, which is a short one that we can finish, inshallah, in 1 month. So through the month of March, inshallah, we will go over the book on funerals, and we should be able to finish, inshallah, by the end of March. And then we will start the book on zakah in the beginning of April, inshallah. So Salat al-Eid, I only have 45 minutes to go over Salat al-Eid, so I'll have to be a little bit fast. We will talk today about the ruling of Salat al-Eid, the time of Salat al-Eid, the preferred form of Salat al-Eid, rulings concerning latecomers, and the takbirs on the days of Eid. So first, the ruling of Salat al-Eid. Imam ibn Qudamah rahimahullah ta'ala said, وهي فرض على الكفاية إذا قام بها 40 من أهل المصر سقطت عن سائرهم. وهي فرض على الكفاية, it is a communal obligation. إذا قام بها 40 من أهل المصر سقطت عن سائرهم. If it is, if at least 40 of the residents of a town attend, then it is not obligatory for the rest of them. So this is according to Imam Ahmad. According to Imam Ahmad, Salat al-Eid is fard kifaya. And it makes sense that it is fard kifaya because it is min sha'air al-Muslimin. It is one of the characteristic rituals of the Muslims. And if an entire community sort of failed to establish Salat al-Eid, that would not be acceptable. So it is obvious, or I should say, that Imam Ahmad has a very good point here when he calls it fard kifaya. The issue here that makes the Malikis and Shafi'is say it is sunnah mu'akkada and fall short of saying it is wajib, like the Hanafis did, and they said it is wajib, is that they don't have something concrete from the Prophet ﷺ to command people to come out to Salat al-Eid. But Atiyya said, كنا نؤمر أن نخرج أن نخرج لصلاة العيد حتى نخرج البكر من خدرها ونخرج الحيض يعتزلن المصلى ويشهدن الخير ودعوة المسلمين. Atiyya said that we were commanded to attend Salat al-Eid, to come out to Salat al-Eid, and even bring out, women, bikr, previously unmarried women, out of their khidr, their private quarters at their homes. They used to be sort of very private. And we also used to bring out the hayyad, women who are in their period. They don't come out to prayer usually. They were coming out to Salat al-Eid because of the importance of Salat al-Eid. They would stay away from the place of the prayer where people line up for the prayer. So they would not line up, or they would not basically sit in the middle of the people who are lined up for prayer, but they would stay behind, but they would witness al-khair, the goodness of that day, and the supplication of the Muslimin, and they would supplicate with the rest of the Muslimin, and so on. It's a day of celebration, a day of cheerfulness. The Malikis and Shafi'is did not feel that this would amount to a command from the Prophet ﷺ, because they said, we all agree that menstruating women do not have to come out. But this meant that the Prophet ﷺ stressed it, that everybody should come out, because if it is a day where people celebrate the end of Ramadan, and everybody is entitled to celebration and to happiness and joy, and so on and so forth. So the Malikis and Shafi'is stand by their position despite the hadith and say, well, Salat al-Eid is not obligatory, it is only a stressed sunnah. So sunnah mu'akkada. So that would be the Malikis. They promised me to get a smart board. I'll ask them for the smart board. So the Malikis and the Shafi'is and the Hanbalis, they would not let you down. There is also a position in the Hanbali madhab that agrees with the Malikis and Shafi'is. The Hanafis said it is wajib. Hanafis said it is wajib. And the Hanbalis also would not let the Hanafis down. So the Hanbalis have a position in the madhab from Imam Ahmad that it is wajib. But the position of Imam Ahmad himself, or the authorized position, all of these are positions of Imam Ahmad himself, by the way. But the authorized position in the Hanbali madhab is that it is fard kifaya, which is a collective or communal obligation. What if the fard kifaya has been fulfilled? What if the obligation has been fulfilled? What is the ruling of Salat al-Eid for you as an individual? You know that 40 people or more than 40 people will go out to Salat al-Eid. What is the ruling of Salat al-Eid for me? Sunnah muakkada. It's a stressed sunnah. So on an individual level, the Hanbalis and the Hanbalis had sided with Malikis and Shafi'is. On an individual level, for each individual, it is Sunnah muakkada, it is a stressed Sunnah. But the Hanbalis added to this that it would not be acceptable for an entire community to not establish Salat al-Eid. They would be all sinners if they did not establish Salat al-Eid. But if 40 people of the town were able to attend, the rest of the town are not required to attend Salat al-Eid. It is important that we want to say, we want to say like the Hanafis, everybody should go out to Salat al-Eid. But if some people have work and so on, and they can't really take the time off, we also want to tell them that the Jumhur, the majority here, Maliki, Shafi'is, and Hanbalis, do not require of them to come to Salat al-Eid. It is a stressed sunnah. Don't be, don't try to act like, or don't be excessive in your agency for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are an agent, you're trying to call the people to the way of Allah, but don't be excessive. Don't demand of them more than what Allah demanded of them. Because here you're not being an honest mediator or an honest agent acting on behalf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're forcing your own views. Okay, so these are the different positions. Why are the Hanbalis all over the place? It is natural, very natural, because Imam Ahmad was so, if you guys went over some of the biography of Imam Ahmad last time, but that Imam Ahmad was very sort of impartial, and it is basically following the truth wherever it leads them, and I could change my mind several times, that's fine. Some of his disciples may hear him when he was 25. Some of his disciples may have heard him when he was 48. And the disciples who heard him, Imam Ahmad was always a nabigha, was always a genius. And people were always listening to him throughout his life. These are things that we have to factor in when we study, fiqh. These were human beings. They also evolved. They also had intellectual growth and progress. It's not like the first position that they are deemed above being fanatics or being zealots. So he would change his mind. He learned from everybody. He learned from Imam al-Shafi'i directly. Imam Ahmad was a student of Imam al-Shafi'i. He learned from him directly. He learned from Abdurrahman ibn Mahdi, who is the sort of the Maliki in chief in Iraq. He's a disciple of Imam Malik. He was one of the greatest scholars of hadith. Abdurrahman ibn Mahdi was one of the greatest scholars of hadith. And Imam Ahmad was a student of Abdurrahman ibn Mahdi. And he valued Abdurrahman ibn Mahdi a great deal. And he learned from him Maliki thought, or Maliki thought made its way to Imam Ahmad through Abdurrahman ibn Mahdi. He learned from Abu Yusuf. So he studied under Abu Yusuf also in the beginning of his pursuit of knowledge. So he learned about the fiqh of Abu Hanifa through Abu Yusuf. So it is not unexpected that Imam Ahmad would be all over the place. Now the issue is, what was his last position? His last position does not abrogate his previous positions, but his last position would benefit the Hanbalis in verifying what should they believe, or what should they hold to be the authorized position in the madhab. If they cannot figure this out, then they will use some other ways or some other posts or signposts that lead them to the authorized position in the madhab, such as the amount of disciples that narrated a position from Imam Ahmad. So if 4 or 5 disciples narrated one position, one disciple narrated a different position, they will go with the kasra. Some people like Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, because he was a mujtahid, he would always go by whatever is more consistent with the usul of Imam Ahmad, with basically legal philosophy of Imam Ahmad, or methodology of Imam Ahmad, or the juridical theory of Imam Ahmad. Some people would go by the amount of people, some people would go by what is most consistent with the usul of Imam Ahmad. So everybody uses their own way to figure out what would Imam Ahmad have said had I posed this question to him now. So these are the different positions concerning the ruling of Salat al-Eid. We want to encourage everybody to come, but if someone can't come, then they should know that they are not required to come. Now, the scholars after the Prophet ﷺ, they started to say that women should not come to Salat al-Eid, despite the fact that he said, bring out everyone, even menstruating women. So the Hanafis said that it is makruh to come to Salat al-Eid for the younger women. And some scholars said it is makruh for attractive women. Some scholars, so it was like all over the spectrum. The Hanbalis also, they wouldn't let the Hanafis down. They wouldn't let them be the Lone Rangers. They would just give them some support. So there was a narration from Imam Ahmad also siding with the Hanafi position that younger women should not come out. But the position in the madhab is that everybody is invited to come out. Particularly now, everybody is going back to the hadith of Atiyah and to the way it used to be during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, that women are encouraged to come out to Salat al-Eid. ووقتها من ارتفاع الشمس إلى الزوال. But I want the sisters to understand that there was no conspiracy against them. The scholars, they have this sadd al-dhara'i, and they had the daughters also. Those scholars had daughters. They felt that people are corrupt and there is fasad and so on. So they wanted to be protective. Sometimes they may have been overprotective. We may fault their reasoning. But the idea that they were cruel or they were patriarchal or this or that is not appropriate to think of our great scholars. It's not appropriate to think of them in this light. We could say, we don't agree with this line of reasoning. We think that we should have, the fasad or the corruption, we should have fought the corruption, but we should not have restricted the women. But sometimes they, you did not walk in their shoes. You were not. So sometimes if these women are my daughters and I feel that on the way to Salat al-Eid, they will be harassed, for instance, and I say, don't go out because we do not want you to be harassed. I don't think that this is cruel or this is patriarchal or misogynist. That's the big word now. So I don't think that this has to be described in these terms. You may disagree. You may fight for, keep in mind, fight for your rights, whether you are women or men, fight for your rights. But you have to understand your rights, and you have to understand that a fight between genders is the most disastrous thing that could happen in a society, because a society is made up of just men and women. And if they start to fight among themselves, that's crazy. And when you transfer this fight inside the family institution, that is detrimental to the family structure. When it becomes a fight of rights and obligations, وَلَا تَنْسَوْا الْفَضْلَ بَيْنَكُمْ. Do not, forget graciousness in dealings among you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not talk about marriage to be built on justice and equality. He said, mawadda and rahma, sakina, mawadda and rahma. لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. So avoid it. Keep in mind, the most important thing is that there has to be a reference point. Otherwise, if there is no reference point, then we'll be arguing from here until, the day end of the world, or the day of judgment. There has to be a reference point. Your best reference point, sisters, is the Quran and the Sunnah. You will find a great deal of, you will find all justice in the Quran and the Sunnah. Use them as your reference point, and then demand your rights, but don't create a fight with who are men. Men are your fathers, your sons. So there is no fight. It is basically just, you demand your rights. You say that this is not, we disagree with this line of thinking. We believe that this is what the Prophet ﷺ said. And if you do this, that is absolutely fine. And then you should be assertive also in demanding your rights. You be assertive, but it's not war between genders. Okay, so we're done with the ruling of, on Salat al-Eid. Second, he's talking about the time. He said, وَوَقْتُهَا مِنْ ارْتِفَاعِ الشَّمْسِ إِلَى الزَّوَالِ. Its time is from sunrise until zawal, and zawal is when the sun reaches the zenith, or the meridian, or the center of the sky. Okay, that's the time of Salat al-Eid. Irtifa' al-Shams is after the sun rises by one spear, the length of a spear. So it is like Salat al-Duha. You wait 15 minutes after sunrise, and then that's the time of Salat al-Duha, Salat al-Eid, and that is when Salah becomes not disliked or detested. وَالسُّنَّةُ فِعْلُهَا فِي الْمُصَلَّى. Now he will move to the preferred form of Salat al-Eid, or the description of Salat al-Eid. Preferred form of Salat al-Eid is وَالسُّنَّةُ فِعْلُهَا فِي الْمُصَلَّى. The sunnah is to perform it in the musalla, which is open space prepared for the prayer. Open space prepared for the prayer. The Prophet ﷺ always prayed it in the open space. Bukhari and Muslim reported from Abu Sa'id al-Khudri that he would always pray it in the open space. We don't have any report to say that the Prophet ever prayed it in the masjid. However, it would be permissible to pray it in the masjid for rain, for inclement weather, for some logistical reasons. We did not get permit to pray it outside, so pray it in the masjid. So it is valid in the masjid for sure, but the established sunnah is to pray it in an open space. We try to do this as much as we can when it is logistically possible and there are no obstacles. The Meccans never needed to pray it in an open space because the virtue of al-Haram would outweigh any other thing. So the Meccans have always prayed it in al-Haram and did not ever need to go outside, because you would not leave al-Kaaba and go somewhere else to pray. Disambiguation. Okay.
So the time is until the sun reaches its zenith, so technically Salat al-Dhuhr?
Huh?
The time?
Salat al-Dhuhr, yes. The sun reaches the center of the sky at the time of Salat al-Dhuhr. So we have all this time to pray it. And then he said, وَتَعْجِيلُ الْأَضْحَى وَتَأْخِيرُ الْفِطْرِ. He said the sunnah is to perform it in the musalla. Second, have the Eid al-Adha prayer early and the Eid al-Fitr prayer late, and to eat breakfast before the prayer on Eid al-Fitr only. To eat breakfast on before the prayer on Eid al-Fitr only. Buraida reported this from the Prophet ﷺ. Ibn Hibban reported from Buraida that the Prophet ﷺ would eat before he comes out on Eid al-Fitr and would not eat until he returned from Eid al-Adha, and then he would eat from his sacrifice when he comes back from Eid al-Adha. The liver usually is the quickest to be cooked. Anyway, that is, all of this is not obligatory. All of this is the sunnah, but you try to do the sunnah as much as you can. And it is, as Anas reported, tamarat, dates on Eid al-Fitr. You eat dates on your way out on Eid al-Fitr. certainly, so some people, the dates is not the definition of breakfast for them. You know, people have different definitions for breakfast. And if your definition for breakfast is different, you could still eat your breakfast. But it would be the sunnah to eat dates and then go out to Salat Eid al-Fitr. And then it's ويسن أن يغتسل ويتنظف ويتطيب. And it is recommended to have ghusl and clean oneself and wear perfume. It is recommended to have ghusl and to clean oneself. يتنظف. Yeah, he added يغتسل. يغتسل would be good for cleaning, but maybe clean, your garment also and everything. And the Prophet ﷺ used to have a cloak that he would only use for the Eids and Jum'ahs. He would have a special beautiful cloak that he wore to Eids and Jum'ah. So it would also be, so beauty, Platonic triad. Beauty has a great deal of respect in the Sharia, along with the truth and goodness. A great deal of respect in Sharia. So this cloak the Prophet ﷺ reserved يتزين بها لأصحابه في العيد والجمعة. He would adorn himself by this for his companions on the days of Eid and the Jum'ah, or the days of Jum'ah. ويتطيب and to wear perfume, and that was also reported from him صلى الله عليه وسلم. فإذا حلت الصلاة قدم الإمام فصلى بهم ركعتين بلا أذان ولا إقامة. Hence, when the time of the prayer comes, the Imam moves forward and leads them in praying 2 rak'ahs without an adhan or iqama. Without an adhan or iqama, that was reported by Jabir radiallahu anhu. He said that he prayed with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He would pray Eid without adhan or iqama. So when the Imam comes and faces the Musallin, they should just stand up. That's when so the Imam comes and faces the Musallin to line them up. Everybody should stand up. They don't need to be prompted. يكبر في الأولى 7 بتكبيرة الإحرام وفي الثانية 5 سوى تكبيرة القيام. He says Allahu Akbar in the first rak'ah 7 times, including the opening takbir. And in the second rak'ah 5 times, not including the takbir of rising from prostration. So in the first takbir, it will be 7. I'll really have to ask for the smart board. In the first takbir, it will be 7 or better markers. And the second takbir, it will be 5 plus 1. Okay, 7, 5 plus 1. This is according to the Malikis and Hanbalis. So this is according to M and A. According to the Shafi'is, they will agree here, but they will say here 7 plus 1. 7 plus 1 according to the Shafi'is. And they would agree here. According to the Hanafis, it is 1 plus 3 in both. 1 plus 3, 1 plus 3. According to the Hanafis, it is the opening takbir plus 3. It is the rising from prostration plus 3. The Hanbalis also would not let the Hanafis go it alone, so they had to give them some support. And there is a report in the Hanbali madhab also that agrees with the Hanafis that it is 4. So 4 and 4 is also a Hanbali position. Now, there are reports from the Prophet ﷺ about the 7 and the 5 plus 1. If those reports are authentic to someone, they'll go by them. If they are not authentic, they will not go by them. But at the end of the day, the reports conflicted, and there are reports from the Sahaba Radwanullahi alayhim that would support the position of the 1 plus 3, and reports from the Sahaba that will support the position of 7 and 5 plus 1. So the Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Hudhayfa ibn al-Yaman, Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, all did 4. And whenever Ibn Mas'ud does something, you expect Imam Abu Hanifa to just do it. Because Imam Abu Hanifa's lineage goes through Ibn Mas'ud, scholarly lineage. goes through Ibn Mas'ud. And certainly through Ali as well. So there is a lot of similarity here.
What do you mean by 5 plus 1 in the sunnah? What is the takbir of moving up?
Yes, the takbirah of rising from prostration. So when you rise from prostration, you will say Allahu Akbar. And then you will add 5, additional 5. Okay. So then he said, so should we be making a big deal out of this? Imam Ahmad said that the Sahaba disagreed on the number of takbirs. Anything is permissible. To begin with, those takbirs, if you just don't make takbirs, additional takbirs at all. I mean, if you don't do it out of the defiance to the sunnah, that's bad. But let's say someone just didn't do additional takbirs, the salah is valid. The takbir is sunnah. In addition to this, we don't have something traceable authentically by agreement to the Prophet that would tell us of the takbirs. What do you have in your book on this? What hadith do you have?
It says it's all good.
But do you have any hadith in the book about the number of takbirs? Huh? Oh, so you have the hadith of Kathir. There is also another hadith by Aisha radiallahu anha. Kathir ibn Abdullah, the problem with Kathir ibn Abdullah ibn Amr ibn Auf is that al-Bukhari said that Kathir is a good guy, and al-Shafi'i said, كَانَ رُكْنًا مِنْ أَرْكَانِ الْكَذِبِ. Shafi'i said he used to be like a sort of one of the cornerstones of lying. So when you have something that is this controversial, between al-Bukhari and al-Shafi'i, that's problematic, that's hard, right? Oh, sorry. Certainly, his father was good, like a good tabi'i. His grandfather was a great sahabi, Amr ibn Auf radiallahu anhu. But Kathir himself, you have people disagreeing with him intensely like this. So it is a problem. Aisha has another report that corroborates the report of Kathir, but Aisha's report that is in Abu Dawood is also very problematic in transmission-wise. So in this case, if you say that I would go with the 7, now let's try to give some support to the Hanbali mazhab because we're teaching a Hanbali book, right? So let's be good here to the Hanbali mazhab. How do you support the position of the Hanbalis over the position of the Shafi'is here, or the Hanafis? The Shafi'i said 7 plus 1, but in fact, how do you support the authorized position of the Hanbalis versus the unauthorized position of the Hanbalis? Because the Hanbalis have two views. One of them is like the Malikis and Shafi'is, one of them is like the Hanafis. How do you support the authorized position of the Hanbalis versus the unauthorized position of the Hanbalis? You could say that, well, we have reports from Umar, you have reports from Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and Hudayfa ibn Yaman, Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, and all of those good Sahabas. We have reports from Umar and Ali that they did 7 and 5. So, in terms of caliber, we sort of, I don't want to even do this, but yeah, Umar and Ali certainly are greater in caliber. And in addition to this, we have these controversial reports from the Prophet ﷺ himself. Would those controversial reports add more strength, value to the authorized Hanbali position versus the unauthorized Hanbali position? Someone may say yes, particularly when you have someone like al-Bukhari, accepting the reports of Kathir ibn Abdullah, and you have also some controversy over the report of Aisha, and together they may corroborate each other. So you may say, we believe that this is the stronger position, yet anything is permissible. And whatever is good is better for the congregation. If you're the Imam of the congregation, sometimes the Imam wants to come and change the whole congregation overnight to his set of views. And if you're an Imam of a congregation that prays 3 plus 1, and you're the new Imam, just pray 3 plus 1. Why should you make a big deal out of it? Even things that are clearer than this, you could still compromise for the sake of peace and unity in your community and among your congregation.
Excuse me, Sheikh.
Yes.
You mentioned that Imam Shafi'i, he said about one of the narrators that his corner of life. Number one, the first question, for me to hear something like this is stunning, that, that Imam Shafi'i say something like that about the narrator of hadith. This number one. Number two, what's the main evidence he has to say something like that?
Well, Imam Shafi'i, no, anyone, sometimes, if you want to be the president, you should have thick skin, right? Because you should accept a lot of, criticism and opposition, right? If you want to be a narrator of hadith, you should know that you're getting into a very serious business. And now, what matters to us as an ummah is that we don't get any sort of fabricated reports about our Prophet, because this is our deen. So you get into this business, you signed up for it. No one forced you. And then you should be ready to everybody saying everything about you that they know to warn against your errors or injustices. Sometimes it may be simply that you're forgetful. People will say it. Ali ibn al-Madini was asked about his father. What do you think of your father? His father. And he said, da'if, he's weak. So now you will have to basically, and that is his father, and he was a good man. He is a righteous man. He raised Ali ibn al-Madini to be one of the greatest scholars of hadith. So after all of my years raising you to be a scholar of hadith, taking you to the kutab, taking you to places, and then you come back and say about me, I'm da'if. But my commitment to Allah comes first. My commitment to the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ comes first. So Imam Shafi'i had to say this to warn, because he had his... I don't remember the exact details of what Imam Shafi'i said, but usually they quoted Shafi'i as saying, Abu Dawood, rahimahullah, sided with Imam Shafi'i. Abu Dawood and al-Bukhari were contemporaries, and they were just like a little bit younger than Imam Shafi'i. Both of them, Imam Bukhari was born in 192, Imam Shafi'i was born in 150, so they were just a little bit after Imam Shafi'i. Abu Dawood sided with Imam Shafi'i. Al-Bukhari said something completely different about Kathir and accepted the reports of Kathir. So the discourse between them was really an honest, open discourse. But like a red flag from Imam Shafi'i would force a lot of scholars of hadith to say, no, well, not really. We're not going to take this. So anyway. So then he said, where are we now? We're done with the takbirs and the number of takbirs, and we said it is very flexible, very flexible. ويرفع يديه مع كل تكبيرة ويحمد الله تعالى ويصلي على النبي بين كل تكبيرتين. ويرفع يديه مع كل تكبيرة. You find some people do this, and you find some people not doing it. Why? Because Ibn Umar did it. So some people will say that Ibn Umar was most observant of the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and they follow in Ibn Umar's footsteps, that he raised his hands with every takbirs. Some people don't raise their hands with any takbirs except takbirat al-ihram, the Hanafis for instance. So that's also fine, not a big deal, not an obligation or anything. ويحمد الله تعالى ويصلي على النبي بين كل تكبيرتين. So he said here, and he praises Allah and sends blessings on the Prophet ﷺ between each two takbirs. Do we have time to do this? Not really, because we say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. But if you will say Allahu Akbar, and then you make alhamdu wa-salah, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, wa-salatu wa-salamu ala ashraf al-mursaleen, or any form of hamd and salah, then it will take much longer. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud used to do this, so that's why it's recommended in the Hanbali mazhab. Bayhaqi reported this from Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. If you want to take it, it's not traceable authentically to the Prophet ﷺ in any report, authentically not traceable to the Prophet, but Abdullah ibn Mas'ud is a great companion. If you want to follow in footsteps of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, then you could do this. Most of the time, you will not have time to do anything. And then, ثم يقرأ الفاتحة وسورة يجهر فيها بالقراءة. ثم يقرأ الفاتحة وسورة يجهر فيها بالقراءة. And then he will recite al-Fatiha and recite another surah aloud. And recite another surah aloud. So the Prophet ﷺ used to recite Qaf wal-Qamar or Sabbih اسم ربك الأعلى wal-Ghashiyah. The same surahs that were recited in Jum'ah, Sabbih and al-Ghashiyah, the Prophet ﷺ recited also in al-Eid. Sometimes he would also recite Qaf wal-Qamar. Recite Qaf wal-Qamar. Certainly you do not want to do this nowadays. Yeah, because, because you want to have a happy day. No, but if you have like some veterans, your own group and you trust them, you could certainly do this to establish the sunnah and revive a sunnah. فإذا سلم خطب بهم خطبتين. After he makes taslim, فإذا سلم خطب بهم خطبتين فإن كان فطرا حضهم على الصدقة وبين لهم حكمها وإن كان أضحى بين لهم حكم الأضحية. After he makes taslim, he gives a sermon in two parts. And Ibn Umar said, I prayed with the Prophet, Abu Bakr and Umar, Uthman, all of them gave the khutbah after the prayer. All of them gave the khutbah or started with the prayer before the khutbah. وإن كان أضحى بين لهم حكمها. We did. If it is Eid al-Fitr, he should encourage them to give charity and explain its rulings to them. If it is Eid al-Adha, he explains to them the rulings on sacrificing. والتكبيرات الزوائد والخطبتان سنة. The additional takbirs and the two sermons are all sunnah. All sunnah. Keep in mind, Maliki Shafi'is and even Hanbalis, for the individual, not for the collective, they say that everything is sunnah to begin with. But takbirat al-zawaid wal-khutbatan sunnah, the additional takbirs and the two khutbas are sunnah. Therefore, if you do not want to attend, you just leave in peace. You leave quietly and do not disturb the congregation, but just leave in peace, and that's fine. You're fine. If you don't want to attend the khutbah, you came and you prayed, and you're in a hurry, you want to go back to work, leave in peace. And then ولا يتنفل قبل صلاة العيد ولا بعدها في موضعها. He does not pray any sunnah prayers before or after the Eid prayer in the place for it, in the musalla, in other words, or the place of Salat al-Eid. There is no need to pray sunnah before or after Salat al-Eid, and there is not even need to pray anything other than Salat al-Eid. If you are in an open place, but if you come into the masjid, then it is recommended to do tahiyyat al-masjid if you walk into the masjid. ومن أدرك الإمام قبل سلامه أتمها على صفتها ومن فاتته فلا قضاء عليه. Latecomers now. He who joins the Imam before he makes taslim finishes it in its prescribed form. He who misses it is not obliged to make up, but if he wants to pray it, he may pray it as a supererogatory prayer. فلا قضاء عليه فإن أحب صلاها تطوعا إن شاء ركعتين وإن شاء أربعا وإن شاء صلاها على صفتها. If he wishes, he may pray 2 or 4 rak'ahs, and he may pray it in the form prescribed for it. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, pray what you catch with them and make up for what you missed. فما أدركتم فصلوا وما فاتكم فأتموا. So this applies to the Eid also. they use the generality of this hadith to say, yes, you could make up what you missed even in the very description of Salat al-Eid with the additional takbirs. That is what they mean by in its form, with the additional takbirs. So if you came in late and you joined the Imam before the Imam made taslim, keep in mind, this is unlike the Hanbalis in Jum'ah. This is like the Hanafis in Jum'ah. If you attend the tashahhud, your Jum'ah is valid. Hanbalis in Jum'ah said if you do not catch one rak'ah, and that's also Malikis and Shafi'is, they said if you don't catch one rak'ah, which is the ruku' of the second rak'ah, you have to make it 4, Dhuhr, not Jum'ah. Hanbalis here are saying, Jum'ah is different. We're talking about a sunnah prayer here, the Eid is a sunnah prayer, and if you catch it before taslim, you caught it because there is really not anything that you will do to make up. So how do you make up now that you did not catch the rak'ah? You're not going to need to pray it 4 because it is not, because what we are saying this in Jum'ah because Jum'ah exempted you from Dhuhr. And now that you did not catch one rak'ah in Jum'ah, then it transforms automatically into Dhuhr, and you need to pray 4. But here it is 2 rak'ahs for Eid, whether you catch the ruku' or not, even if you come right before the taslim, you caught it, you caught the reward, therefore you can come up and pray it. You could pray it 2, you could pray it 4, you could pray it with the additional takbirs, you could pray it without the additional takbirs, as you wish, as you like. And if you missed it all, you could pray it in its exact form. When you arrive, you could pray it in its exact form, but you're not required. You don't need to pray it. But if you wish to pray it in its exact form, pray it. All is permissible, all is fine. And then he said, وَيُسْتَحَبُّ التَّكْبِيرِ فِي لَيْلَتَيِ الْعِيدَيْنِ. Okay, do you allow me like 3 or 4 more minutes after 10? It's 9:57, I need 6 or 7 minutes. Okay, if someone wants to leave, please. ويستحب التكبير في ليلتي العيدين ويكبر في الأضحى وقيب الفرائض في الجماعة من صلاة الفجر يوم عرفة إلى العصر من آخر أيام التشريق إلا المحرم فإنه يكبر من صلاة الظهر يوم النحر إلى العصر من آخر أيام التشريق. Okay, so he said ويستحب التكبير في ليلتي العيدين. It is recommended to make takbir during the nights before the 2 Eids. So from Maghrib on the day of Eid al-Fitr or Eid al-Adha, you make a lot of takbir. And he will tell us how to make takbir. Allahu Akbar, la ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, wa lillahi alhamd. So this is how we make takbir. You make a lot of takbir from Maghrib of the night before Salat al-Eid, both Eids. Okay. Then he said, وَيُكَبِّرُ فِي الْأَضْحَى وَقَيْبَ الْفَرَائِض. This is for the 2 Eids from the Maghrib. As for Eid al-Adha, he will also make takbir after the congregational prayers, starting from the Fajr prayer on the day of Arafah. Day of Arafah is 9. 10 is day of Eid, right? Arafah is 9. 10 is Eid. Ayyam al-Tashriq 12. 11, 12, 13. Those are the 3 days of Tashriq. So in the Hanbali madhab, you will start from the Fajr here, Fajr of Arafah, making takbir after the obligatory prayers. Making takbir after the obligatory prayers. From the Fajr of the day of Arafah until Asr of the 13th. Until Asr of the 13th. From the Fajr of the 9th of Dhul Hijjah until the Asr of the 13th of Dhul Hijjah, you're making takbir after the obligatory congregational prayers in the masjid. Everybody is making takbir. This is wajib according to the Hanafis and recommended according to the rest. As for the time of the takbir, Abu Yusuf and Muhammad ibn al-Hasan, they have the same position as the Hanbalis, or the Hanbalis have the same positions as Abu Yusuf and Muhammad ibn al-Hasan, and that has become the authorized position in the madhab, in the Hanafi madhab. certainly authorized position in the madhab, people fight over this all the time, you know, even within the same madhab, people fight over what is the authorized position in the madhab. It's not cut and dry all the time. But this is, according to the most of Hanafis, this is the authorized position. They make takbir like this, from the Fajr of Arafah until the last day, until the Asr of the 13th, which is the last day of the days of Tashriq. The Hanbali, the Malikis and Shafi'is, and Imam Abu Hanifa himself, which is not the authorized position in the Hanafi madhab, but the Imam Abu Hanifa himself, like the Malikis and Shafi'is, they said everybody, whether you are muhrim or not, everybody is following what the muhrims do. And when do we agree that the muhrims make takbir? We agree that the muhrims make takbir from when? From the dhuhr of the day of Eid. Dhuhr of the day of Eid, the muhrims start to make takbir here until the Asr of the last day of Tashriq. Maliki, Shafi'is, and Imam Abu Hanifa himself said that they start from Dhuhr on the 10th until the Asr on the 13th. Because everybody is following what the muhrims do. The Hanafis and Hanbalis are saying that you start from Fajr on the 9th and Asr on the 13th. It ends up that the Hanafis and Hanbalis win here. Why? Because that's the tendency, that is generally the tendency. When you do something, people follow you. If, you know, so like you do anything and people would follow you. So if you raise your hands, people next to you in the salah would feel guilty not raising their hands. It's just like, you know, so he's raising his hands. You know, so if you do something, more than likely that the people will follow the sort of the affirmative, the action, not the inaction, you know. So if someone in the masjid is saying Allahu Akbar, everybody will say it. So everybody nowadays, you know, go walk into any masjid, everybody nowadays does it from the Fajr of the 9th until the Asr of the 13th. Okay, how do you make takbir? وصفة التكبير شفعا الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد. The form of takbir is in pairs. Allah, I said it, okay, I'm not going to repeat it. So Allah is the greatest, Allah is the greatest, there is none worthy of worship except Allah, and Allah is the greatest, Allah is the greatest, and to Allah is due all praise. So now this is Hanafi and Hanbali also. Hanafi and Hanbali agree here as well on the description or the form of takbir. The Malikis and Shafi'is, they say it 3 times. They say it 3 times. They cite Jabir. We cite Umar and Ali. Right? Who wins? So there is nothing traceable all the way to the Prophet ﷺ. But the Shafi'is and Malikis, they cite Jabir, the practice of Jabir. We cite the practice of Umar and Ali. But at the end of the day, whether you cite the practice of Jabir radiallahu anhu, or Umar radiallahu anhu, Ali radiallahu anhu, as Imam Ahmad said, the practice of any of the Sahaba is fine to be followed. So anyone who's following the practice of any of the Sahaba, that is why we have many reports in the Hanbali madhab. One of the reasons why we have many reports of the Hanbali madhab is that whenever Imam Ahmad got a report from any Sahaba, he would say, that's good too, that's fine too. Even if they were conflicting, they'd say, choose. That's fine too, that's fine too, that's a Sahabi, that's a Sahabi. So Jabir, you know, the practice of Jabir is Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, wa lillahi alhamd. The practice that was reported from Umar and Ali is like the Hanafis and Hanbalis, and most of the masajid go by this. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, wa lillahi alhamd. قل قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك